Hello, Sonar family. We got Paul Woodham with us today, and I've asked him to be with us because he has bought one of the Sonor's 150th anniversary series drum sets, and we're going to talk about that, his passion for Sonar, and anything else that comes up. Welcome, Paul.
Yeah, hi Jules. Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely glad to have you. So just getting straight to the point here. How are you liking your new signature drum set?
Wow, how long you got? It is simply a piece of art. That's all I can say. I've been very lucky. I've had lots of very high-end drum kits.
Mhm.
I've always had a passion for Sonar, and we'll get into that later, no doubt. But this drum kit surpasses anything I've ever had previously. And you know what? And my view on it, people need to enjoy it with me, and that's why I gig it. Stunning quality, stunning build, stunning looks. I just love it, love it, love it, love it.
Now, what kind of response do you get from people when they find out you're actually carrying that thing out to, that's almost like, buying the top of the line car and driving it to the curb store, I mean,
Yeah. So interestingly, the day I collected it, which was the Sonar launch day, May the 1st. I bought it from the dealership in the UK, a dealership called Graham Russell Drums, the biggest UK dealership, and they took the full Sonar allocation of the snare drums and all the kits. You know, the Birch kits, the Heritage line, the signature kits. They took everything that Sonar was releasing in the UK, so they put themselves in a really strong position. So I went down on the 1st of May to collect it. Steve Vine, who's the Sonar rep from the UK, he was there. They really made it a special day. White glove treatment when they opened the boxes, unpacked it, and they had one of their other kits set up on the stage ready for me to sit behind and enjoy and get some photos off, which was really really super. And when I was saying, I'm gigging this, it's my drum kit. I've They're a lot of money, Jules. Let's not be, we won't beat about the bush. They're high price point, but you know what? They're still value for money, in my opinion. Now I've owned one, and I've got to love it even more than I loved it when I first ordered it. They're high price point, but they are value for money. They are so good. And I said to the guys in the shop, I said, this is my kit now. I'm gigging it, and I'm fairly busy with my bands. I had a triple header last weekend. Kit was out every night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. As we call over here, we have a common phrase in the UK when we're doing pub gigs. It's, oh, we're going up the dog and duck. And they're saying, you're going to take this to the dog and duck. It's worth more than the pub is. So, and I said, they are too good to leave in a box. They need to be played. Craftsmen have put their heart and soul into making these instruments. And for me personally, and it's only my view, everyone has a different view, and I accept that. And I don't say one's right or one's the other, but it's my drum kit. I can do what I like with it. And I really, really look after my gear. Always have done,
Mhm.
always will do. But to take that out of my drum cases and set it up in the dog and duck, and people have just been coming up to me going, my God, your drum kit, it's amazing. Can you tell us a bit about it? What is it? We've noticed on the front it's got 150. And that was only for the first two gigs because I do swap all the heads out to keep them pristine.
Mhm.
I didn't have the new Rezo head ready to go with a port in it at the time. So I had to do the first gigs with the 150th anniversary signature Rezo head on it. And I was paranoid that people weren't going to kick the mic stand into it or something. The boys in the band are going, do not
Mhm.
come near this drum kit, not tonight. So I've had great reactions. All the bands, and I play in three different bands, completely different styles. They all love it. They've all got, oh my word, the quality, the sound quality, the depth, the sound of the drums, the appearance as well. And it's a real, let's be honest, it's a real centre stage piece, isn't it? If you're going to turn up with that, and you've got good guys around you that play well as well, and they've got nice gear, but nevertheless, that drum kit, creating the backdrop for them
Hmm.
makes them look pretty special as well. So it's just amazing response. And I get the same response from playing the kit because obviously I'm sat behind it. So I get some pictures at the start of the night when I've set it up, which is great. And I expect my Facebook page has got pretty bored of that now, as has my YouTube page. But you know what? I just love it, and I think, well, it's another opportunity to get a photograph of this spectacular kit. I'm, it was a really and truly and honestly, I'm a pretty transparent guy. It was
Hmm.
a once in a lifetime opportunity for me, and
Sure.
I'd actually ordered the snare drum. That's what I'd ordered. Um, through Graham because he got the allocation. Graham Russell Drums had got the allocation of the snare drums as well. I think he took 6 in the UK, and I'd ordered that, and I was very excited about having the snare drum. I had a Sonor SQ2 anyway, and I thought that's gonna, which was medium beach, walnut inner and outer veneers with a candy mist burst. That was my kit. It was
Ooh.
13 by 9, 22 by 14, 16 by 16, and I'd got a 14 by 14 made to go as well with it. So I'd had one up, two down. Beautiful, beautiful drum kit, and I loved it. And I thought, you know what, that snare drum's going to sound great with that kit. And after I'd ordered it, um, I then had to do a little bit of work at home with regard to convincing Mrs. Woodham that actually the drum kit was the right thing to do. And bless my wife, she's very patient with me. And that's a really, really good holiday that is that she's given up to let me buy the kit. So I spoke to Graham and I said, you know what, Graham, I think I really want the signature kit, but I can't take the snare drum as well. He said, yeah, don't worry about it, Paul. We do a lot of business together. And he said, that's fine. So I ordered the kit instead, and I'm really, really pleased I had. And interestingly, on the day I went down to collect it, and it's number 22 out of 50, on the day I went down to collect it, someone rang up and said, do you have any of those snare drums left? So the snare drum that I'd pre-ordered, which was now available, sold the day I was there. So
Oh, wow.
it was, yeah, so it was great, so the circle was closed. So anyway, I'm probably rambling on, but you can probably tell from my excitement and enthusiasm of it, this kit surpasses everything I could ever have dreamed of.
I saw another guy that's got a 150th anniversary set, and he's still got the original signature stuff from the 80s, I guess. And
Wow.
they made it into the 90s. But he was talking about the workmanship. The current workmanship is far better than it was back then. And that's almost impossible to even fathom because at the time, Sonar was so far ahead of, there was such a gap between Sonar and everybody else on the planet. It was German mentality, German engineering, way over the top. And for somebody to make a statement that
Mm.
modern Sonar is that much better than what they call the Link era, it's
Yeah.
almost unfathomable. Have you had anywhere that you've seen that just like, you know what, they didn't do that as good as they could have, or the sound they could have done better? I mean, is there anywhere that you saw anything that could have been any better?
In all honesty, right now, so I've had the kit now since May 1. So what's that? Six or 7 weeks.
Hmm.
I've probably done a dozen gigs with it already. And it stands up. It just stands up in every possible way you can expect it to. The quality as well. And I don't want to dismiss other drum brands here either, but I've had a lot of high-end kits, and I've only on one other drum brand previously I've had gold-plated hardware, and this Sonar stuff is just a different league to it. And I'm talking about high-end American drum manufacturer,
Hmm.
might have D&W in the title. And I love that drum kit, don't get me wrong, but this gold-plated hardware on the Sonar is just a different league. And I think I agree with you. I think it's that whole German engineering mentality that's just inbred into them from
Hmm.
from when when they're born. You know, it's
Yeah.
and they're true craftsmen and really proud of ensuring that what goes out the door is what they have strived to achieve, and they do. And so I haven't found anything with it at all. I'll be honest, I always change the heads. I like Evans heads. I'm not a Remo fan.
Mhm.
Not to say they're not great heads. I just prefer Evans. Um, and I like to keep the original heads fresh.
I do
So
the I do the same
yeah,
thing. Didn't mean to talk
yeah,
over you there, but I certainly.
no, yeah. And I even take the snare wires off. Um, so I've got the original snare wires unplayed. I've got the original heads unplayed, all sealed up in a box, and I've got my Evans EC2s on the batter heads. And I've got G1s on the Rezos on all the toms, and then on the kick, I've just got a Rezo um, head on the front, and a Sonar Rezo head. But I didn't want SQ2 or anything on it, so it's just a Sonar branded head.
Right.
Um, and then on the kick, I use an EMAD 2. And the reason I use the two-ply kick is because the internal ply, the Bubinga, is so beautiful. I don't want to cover it up with anything. I don't want an Evans EQ pad in there. I don't want pillows. So by putting the EMAD 2 on it, it just gives enough to give it the punch and take
Hmm.
some of the ring out. But being the heavy beach, to be fair, it's so controllable anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I did the same on my SQ2. I mean, I've had a couple of SQ2 kits previously, and the last one, because it had the walnut inner veneer on it, I couldn't bring myself to cover it or put coated heads on. I've got to show people the quality of the internals of these
Hmm.
shells as well. So that's what I do. Yeah. So yeah, it's great.
So
So
with
no
the
negatives at all.
so with the EC2s, are you having to do any muffling on top of that? Do you use moon gels or anything like that?
No, just I get to the gig. I have a play around them. We all know every gig, the acoustics are different. So it's just a little bit of tweaking on the tuning, but
Hmm.
I have them open. Um, and I like an open drum sound, and I like the resonance of the drum. And people, craftsmen, engineers have gone far and beyond and spent hours and hours and hours to find the most resonant shell that they can create to get the quality of the tone of the drum out. Why do I want to muffle it? So I don't. And they're not all bongy and ringy
Hmm.
and annoying and buzzy for the rest of the band. They are lovely. And the only thing I put a is on my snare drum. I just put one of those leather straps on the snare drum, just to take any potential ring out of that. And that's the only thing I do.
Do y'all have a dedicated sound person?
If I'm out with my tribute band, which is a tribute to the bands of Free and Bad Company, massive, massive fans of Free and Bad Company. Paul Rogers, vocal god, best vocalist in the world in my book. So I have a tribute band called Free's Company. Took us a long time to think of that title, I tell you. So that tends to be theatre type gigs that we'll rent the theatre, and then we promote it, we sell the tickets, and that's then we'll get a sound guy, and it's full lighting, full sound. And I love those, of course. They're always lovely gigs. Rest of the time, my other two bands are generally sort of pub, bar, you might call them bars in the States, pubs and bar type bands.
Hmm.
Um, and I turn up, I tune the kit to what I hear. We'll sound check it. All sounds right. It's always a bit tricky if you're not sat out front, because I know with toms and things, they always sound different when you're behind the kit. But that's why I like them open, because I know they'll project and cut over the rest of the band rather than just getting lost in the mix. And I've never had people coming up to me going, like, Struth, you're really loud. I'm not a really heavy player.
Yeah.
I've got some chops, but I play for the song and for the music. So I try and pride myself on the dynamics. And I think
Hmm.
that suits the drums, of course, as well. So yeah, so it's only really the tribute band that I ever get the feedback from the sound guys. And and without question on my SQ2, we did a good gig in February this year when I had my SQ2, my medium beach, and we were lucky we'd sold it out. It's a great venue. And the sound engineer came up after doing the sound check and he went, I've done nothing. I've done nothing to your drum sound. He went, it's just stunning. And that's what I like to hear. So, you know what? That's the best endorsement you can get, isn't it? They've not put lots of EQ or gates on it or compression. They just let the drums do what they're built to do. And that's lovely. Yeah.
So did you keep the SQ2s also?
No, I unfortunately, to pay over £11,000 for this one, I had to trade.
I got you.
So yeah,
Makes
yeah.
sense.
I'd have loved to have done, but it would have been a bit unreasonable, to be fair. So you know what? And I haven't done bad. I haven't got a bad deal, have I? I got 150th
No.
anniversary.
So you got the Heritage, right? Or did you get the Fusion?
Yeah. No, I got the Fusion.
You did get the Fusion. Okay.
Yeah, because I knew they'd be relatively heavy because of the heavy beat shells.
Hmm.
I knew the Fusion would be more giggable, and also with the depth of the shells, I don't like them being really high on the kit, but I'm having to have a lot of arm movement to
Hmm.
get up around the kit. I like to have that natural flow as we all do, and I just find it easier with the shallower drums. So that's what I went for. It was bought as a gigging kit for me. Had I been, if I wasn't going to gig it, I would have bought the Heritage without doubt. But I bought the drums to gig, so I need to be able to properly gig them and enjoy them. That was my decision.
Gotcha. So did you have to do a lot of contemplating between the signatures and the Sonar lights, or was your mind pretty much dead set to start with?
I was pretty done. I considered them. The Sonar lights they're a little bit cheaper, but you know what? When you're talking that sort of money, £500 or £600 isn't
Sure.
it really doesn't come into the equation, does it? So it wasn't a money choice. Um, Part of the negotiation with my wife was, well, what do you like, love? You know what? And she really loved the signature. And to be honest, as did I.
Hmm.
My only concern, and I may alluded to it and referenced it earlier, was having gold hardware again. That was my only concern. So what I did, I actually spoke to Steve Vine from Sonar directly and said, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. This is my concern. I've had the American drums with the gold plate, which didn't really hold up as well as I'd have liked to have done. Bearing in mind, I try and keep my stuff pristine, even
Hmm.
though it's gigging. Um, and he told me where they had it done, how long they'd been using this business to do their plating for them. And I said, Steve, fine. You know, if you've got that information immediately available to talk to me about, and you get why I'm asking, that's good enough for me. And he's such a great guy. He's so contactable as well, so available for you if you've got a question, which is another great thing with Sonar. They're pleased to talk about their instruments
Yeah.
and put themselves out to do so. So once I'd had that chat with Steve, that was late one evening, probably via Messenger, a bit like you and I, but not quite on a different time zone. Then I spoke to the store the next day about, hey, not sure I want the snare drum anymore. And oh, well, that's a shame. Why? And I said, because I want this. Oh, that's not such a shame. Happy days.
Hmm.
And they're brilliant with me. I've been through a number of drum kits with them, and they really look after me down there. So yeah, so it was a done deal really. I love the kit, love the look of it. I like and I particularly prefer the beach shells.
Hmm.
That was, I'd had a Birch SQ2, fantastic, but the projection of it was amazing. But I just felt the beach shells, having had now the SQ2 with the walnut veneer, I just felt they were a bit rounder, weren't quite as attacky, which they still had enough attack, but just
Hmm.
weren't quite as punchy to provide more resonance that the beach does. So that was a big part of the thought process, Jules. Yeah.
I got you. Well, as far as your dealer goes, how are they doing on the sales of the shell sets? Have you talked to them lately about that?
I haven't been down there for a couple of weeks. The day I was there collecting mine, another customer came down to have a look, and he bought it whilst he was there, and he came down to pick his snare drum up, and saw the kit and bought the kit while he was there. So he's got the kit and the snare drum, Lucky Devil, in the signature. Um, so I don't know if Graham sold any more or not yet, Jules. I know he's got some available. So he has one of each in the Sonar light and in the signature in the fusion sizes set up in the store. Um, so, and that's the great thing, I go back to, without preempting conversation with you, but I go back to the days when I started looking in drum shops,
Hmm.
in the UK. You were lucky you might have had an Olympic by Premiere or a Premiere, and you couldn't go anywhere near it, and yet Graham Russell has all these super high-end drum kits. And if you're serious and you're not just going in there because you want to mess up the drum heads, if
Hmm.
you're a serious buyer, you can jump on that kit. I mean, he set the Sonar signature fusion kit up on the day, and they were playing it in the store. Now, yeah, how many opportunities to go and get to sit behind 11 grand drum kit and have a sit on it. And the photograph, I don't know if you've seen it, but the photograph I've got is me sat on that kit with Graham Russell and Steve Vine from Sonar. It was a lovely moment.
You mentioned the guy coming in to to pick up his snare drum and wound up with the signature kit. So
Yeah,
you bring me to something I've always thought about Sonar, and that's that no matter how good the photography is with photographs, I mean with their catalogs back in the catalog days, and even online, there's an element of Sonar you just don't get until you see it in person.
yeah.
How true would you say that is when you saw your drum set for the first time, or the other one that was in the store, when you actually saw it in person compared to the pictures you'd seen?
100% agree with you. So the photography that the guys do in the shop is second to none.
Hmm.
They've got all the right gear, all the right lighting, they've got a stage environment, they set the equipment up on, so they really give it the best opportunity to sell itself. Of
Hmm.
course, that's what they're in business to do. But you know what? When I went down there and looked at that, and then we started opening the boxes for mine, yeah, I won't lie, I had a tear in my eye. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, you just think the great, the Bubinga, the quality, the grain, the way it's book matched, the quality of the plating of the gold hardware. You just sit there, and I was open jawed, to be honest. I was, my word, I knew it was going to be good, but it's another level to what, and that's just, I've been really lucky. Lots of good kits, lots of good Sonar kits as well in the recent years. But it was just another level. Stunning. If you can get to see one, please just because you'll just be amazed at it. And all you can do is go, thank you, Sonar.
Hmm.
Thank you to all their people, all their artisan craftsmen that have put their life and soul into creating these instruments. And that's why, for me, leaving them in a box, it's just the wrong thing to do. That need to
Yeah.
be out, and people need to love them.
The sales appear to be really slow on the shell sets in the United States, but I have a sneaking suspicion that all these guys that are sitting there not buying them, I think there's going to be a lot of them that later on they're going to be like, I really missed an opportunity here. And I'll probably be one of those guys. I'm just right now, I'm just not in the position to get one. But I think that one day there's going to be a lot of people that kick themselves in retrospect. Um, because like you said, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So, do you have any other sonar gear now other than that, or is that pretty much got it covered?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Never say never, though, eh?
That was actually going to be my next question. Now that you've gotten the pinnacle of do you ever see yourself buying another piece of gear, and what would it be?
So, in all honesty, um, this kit will be with me until I can't lift it anymore, and then I'll keep it, and I'll go out and buy something I've already had before for because I'll be much older, hopefully by then, and not wanting to lift such heavy gear.
Hmm.
Then I'll go back and have another Sonar Vintage, just a little one up, one down Sonar Vintage, and still get out doing the gigs. They're cracking little kits. I had one a couple of years ago in black slate, I think they called it. Just phenomenal, phenomenal drums. Again, great build quality,
Hmm.
good price point as well. You know what? Over here, you can get them over here for about £2,300, including the matching snare if you want it. And in comparison to a £11,300 drum kit, that's a bargain, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think what I'll do is I will keep I'll keep the signature, um, and then as I'm struggling to lift it, as I say, I'll probably go and then get either probably a vintage. I think I could go for a light beach SQ2, perhaps that might be a consideration. Um, but one thing I'll definitely do, which has just reminded me all these years of playing drums, how I've missed the bass drum mount.
Oh, you know what? I'm all about a bass drum mount.
Yeah.
That
Um,
setup is just so much simpler.
yeah. So I would definitely, and I've not had a bass drum mount. I've had Virgin bass drums for quite some time now, and totally agree with you. Oh no, it's just oh no, oh just move it a bit, and then so but I would definitely, if I go for the vintage, I'll have one with bass drum mount. That's for sure, or even the SQ2. And then I'll have the kit still here. I might be in a position where I can have the signature set up at home, not gigging it anymore, but it's there, so I'm not lifting it and
Hmm.
enjoying it. And these things aren't, they're not for a young fit guy. They're a piece of cake. I'm in my 60s now, so in 10 years' time, I probably won't want to be lifting it, but I still want to be gigging. God willing, because it's my lifeblood. I love it.
Yeah.
And and it's just about facilitating myself to still be able to get out and play with a real nice quality drum kit that's not going to break the back. And that's probably what I do. And then come the day when they all have to wave me off and go, "See you, Woody," have a nice onward journey. Then my wife can sell it and go on a really good holiday, can't she? Sit
So
on the beach and raise a glass to me and go, "Thanks, Woods. That was a good call." So I play within ears, but I tend to, and without putting overheads and mics in, and then the rest of the band aren't going through in ears, so you've got no mix. So I went out and brought the Porter and Davis tactile monitor, and I tell you what, I've had that about 15 months now, and it's completely changed my playing. Just feeling that coming through your spine,
hmm.
that kick drum through the tactile monitor, and it's immediate. It's as you play it, you're feeling it. It's you're just in the pocket all the time because you're just there with your kick. So that was another fairly big investment. They're at £1,000,
Hmm.
um, but it was worth every penny. So that's really my rig. So it's Sonar, so the Sonar drums, Tama hardware, Porter and Davis tactile monitor through the stall, and then all my cymbals are Meinl Byzance. Again, German engineering, made in Turkey, finished in Germany, of course. But I went down to Graham Russell Drums one day. Sam, who's one of the guys down there, he's a real Meinl guru, and he's been over to Meinl a lot, to the factory, into the vault, and actually hand selected a load of cymbals to bring back to the UK. And he said, "Well, let's try you on some of the foundry reserves." So I went in there to buy a cymbal and ended up chopping the whole lot out whilst I was in the store. And I had rotated those a little bit over the last probably over the last 12 months, but now I've got my sound.
Hmm.
I'm there. So yeah, I love my German cymbals as well as my German drums. So it's good. Shall I tell you about my very first drum kit? My very first, what I call my pro drum kit. And I know it's not a Sonar, but it's my very first pro drum kit was Rogers XP8 and maple shells. And I gigged that kit for 30 years.
Wow.
And and then and it was odd because that was the time when I just happened to come across it and bought it and I gigged it and it was great. And and then I started opening my eyes up to other drum manufacturers, and I've been through some other brands. But the thing with Sonar for me, Jules, it was almost there was always this mystique about it,
Hmm.
and you'll get it because you're just a Sonar nut,
Oh yeah.
and I know that, and fans of Sonar will probably, and other people will go, the bloke's an arsehole, you know, he just doesn't. What's he talking about? But there's a mystique about it, about what they did. They weren't commonly available in the stores that I used to go to when I was, you know, in my informative years of looking at new drum kits or being able to afford a new drum kit. You just never saw a Sonar drum kit in a store in the UK, really.
Hmm.
Certainly not one that you could go in and go, oh, what's this? Tell me about it. And someone in the short store was informed about it. That was always the problem. They never really knew. It's just a name on a drum. So it was always unfinished business for
Hmm.
me. And you know, and I was dead set that that link my desire to own and in love and play Sonar drums needed to happen whilst I could still play. So I bought my first Sonar kit 9 years ago. So you know, not that long ago, really, considering I've been playing now for 51 years
Mm.
because I'm really old. And and the first Sonar kit I bought was a Pro Light and Chocolate Burl, 2218, probably 10, 12, 16 toms. I think there was an 8 with it as well, but I didn't want the 8. From Graham Russell. Sat down on it, played it. I think they were birch. I think they were birch shells, the Pro Lights. You'll correct me on that. Um,
I think the pro lights are maple.
oh, are they? Oh, yeah, you're right. It was vintage maple. Absolutely, I remember now. Um, yeah, I played that for a while, loved it. And then the next Sonar kit I brought was the vintage. And then I was down the store one day and they had a red sparkle SQ2 kit in there. And I just loved it. And I thought it was a wrap. But it wasn't. You know,
Hmm.
I thought, oh, they've really done that wrap well, but it wasn't a wrap, you know, all hand finished. Um, and I thought, oh, I need that drum, so need that drum kit. So I had that and the vintage at that time, which was really great. Um, and then played that for quite a while. Kept it really nice, you know, try and look after the gear, as I said earlier. And then one day, literally 5 o'clock on a Friday night, a post came up on Facebook, kit of the week. And it was the SQ2 medium beach with the American walnut shells, you know, inner and outer veneer.
Hmm.
Words, and oh, God, I've got to have that drum kit. So so yeah, so the SQ2 red sparkle went. And I bought that, and that's what I've been playing. Loved it, and that was, you know, really great kit. Really loved it. And then that was the thing that I've chopped in for the anniversary. So but having had, you know, a lot of high-end kits, you know, American kits, you know, Ludwig, Gretsch, DW, Tama, Yamaha, you know, all high-end kits. when I say this Sonor drum kit is just a different league, I think for me personally, I feel I'm authorized to say it because actually I've owned and played and gigged these other kits as well, and they're all lovely drums, you know. So I'm not
Hmm.
not decrying any of the other brands. They all make beautiful drums, you know. And as a lad growing up, I'd have given a right hand for any one of them, you know. But right now, I'd give both arms to have the kit I've got. But I don't want to do that because I want to play it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a complete different league. So anybody out there interested, please just go, and if you can find one to go and have a look and try, do so, because your trip will be worthwhile. Even if you can't buy it in just the lover of drums, you'll appreciate the quality of them.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. People just don't, if you haven't experienced it yourself, you don't get it. People
Yeah.
think it's snake oil, and Todd was talking about in an interview with him, Todd Cirkin was talking about the undersized shell and how it makes it sound tympanic, which isn't a secret, but the rebound you get off of it, the tunability. So when people try to say that, well, they're all the same, just some look prettier or, whatever, that's absolutely not true.
No, I agree. And with the undersized shells, with my preference of the Evans heads, they're so true and so tunable as well. And I know Sonar put the Remo heads on as standard, and they're very good heads. It's just my preference. I just think they tune up easier.
Hmm.
The Evans heads, that's my view, and I like what I get. But you're right that the feedback you get from the stick of the head of the drum is phenomenal. It really is. And you can just hear the projection and the tone as soon as that stick strikes that head at
Hmm.
what volume you're playing at. It doesn't lose the quality of the tone of the drum. That shell is just there, and it sits there saying, "Okay, we can cope with this."
Hmm.
And I'm going to project a true sound that you've tuned it to be, and it's just fantastic. So that's my 14 by 8 Signet, and it's, as you can see, I've got number 22 of 50.
Yeah.
I've got my Evans Power Center reverse dot on the top of this, and an Evans 300 lazy on the Rezo, and I put 24 strands bronze pure sound wires on it. And you know what? It's 14 by 8, and people think, oh, that's going to be really, really low end. It is so tunable, right from the high frequencies down to the bottom.
Hmm.
It's great. And whatever genre, and the bands I play in, they're three quite different bands. Yeah, it just fits in with any of them. I've got on my rack now from snare drums is I've got my signature I've just shown you. I've got my Ludwig 14 6.5 Black Beauty that everyone's got to have a Black Beauty in their life, haven't they? And I've got my original 1980 that I bought new Rogers Dynasonic, and that's all I keep.
Hmm.
I can't let the Dynasonic go because I gigged it for 30 years, and it looks
Yeah.
like the day it came out the factory. And a Black Beauty is a Black Beauty, isn't it? It's you just got to have one on the shelf. And I do gig it occasionally. I haven't gigged it with this kit because I don't need to, but sometimes with some of the other kits, I take the Black Beauty out just to give it a run, so to speak. And knowing that we're in an environment, I just wanted, because it's got die-cast hoops on it again, like mine has, like the signature. It just had that crack, and sometimes you just want that, don't you, just to cut over. So I really love your channel. I always look forward to your coffee, your coffee in the morning. I should probably, if you decide to publish this, I should probably watch this back with a bit of trepidation. But you know what? It is what it is. So hopefully, I've just shared my passion and my love for the instrument I've got, and I know I'm very, very lucky. You know, I've worked hard to get it. It's not been gifted to me, but nevertheless, to to wrap this up, once in a lifetime, and I did it. Thank you very much.